Okay, so today we're going to talk about meiosis, which sounds a lot like mitosis, but where mitosis takes place in normal body cells, meiosis takes place only in sex cells, so egg and sperm cells. Okay, so it's a little bit different, but a lot of it is very similar. So if you understand mitosis, you should be great with starting on meiosis. All right, the first thing to know about meiosis is that it's the division of sex cells, which we just said, but you can also call those sex cells gametes. Gametes refers to egg and sperm cells, and if it's not an egg and a sperm cell, it will not go through meiosis, it'll go through mitosis, like we just said. So, if someone asks you if an arm cell, what will it go through? If it's not an egg or sperm cell, it's going to go through mitosis. So you would say mitosis. If someone wanted to know about a kidney cell, mitosis. If someone wanted to know about an egg cell, meiosis. Okay, so if it's only an egg or sperm, meiosis is how eggs and sperm get in our bodies in the first place. All right. You don't need to draw this diagram off to the side, by the way. It's just to show you how in this process, instead of one egg becoming two eggs, we have one egg becoming four eggs. Okay, so it's a little bit different. We'll get into that in just a second. Okay, the next thing that's a little bit different than mitosis is that meiosis has the same four stages as well as cytokinesis as mitosis, but it goes through them two times. So, whereas mitosis does prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, meiosis does those, and then it does them again. So we end up with four eggs at the end instead of just two cells like in mitosis. All right. So there's some important terms that we need to do before we can go on so that you will understand what I'm talking about in a minute. The first one is haploid, and haploid is what we say when a cell has half of the number of normal chromosomes. So if it normally is supposed to have two chromosomes, haploid would be if it has one chromosome. Okay, it has half of the correct number. If it's supposed to have six, half would be three, so three would be the haploid number of chromosomes. And you can also tell if it's haploid if there's an N or a 1N. That means it's haploid. Diploid is just what we say for the normal number of chromosomes in a cell. So if a cell is supposed to have two chromosomes, and it does have two, then it's diploid. If it's supposed to have four and it has four, it's diploid. Okay, so for some reason they represent that as 2N. All right, so remember N is half the number that it's supposed to have. 2N is the normal number or twice the number. Okay, so if that confuses you at all, see me in class so we can get that worked out, because you will see those words as we go through this unit. And you can draw this picture off to the side, okay? If you need to pause it and draw it, make sure you draw everything that you see. So you've got your cell, you have it labeled as diploid and haploid, and then you have a little drawing of the chromosomes in the middle, and you have 2N and N so that you can remember that all those things go together. All right. So this is just a picture of the stages of meiosis, and you don't need to write this down. I'm sorry, you do need to write the red part down. You don't need to draw the picture. So meiosis goes through the same stages that mitosis does, but since it goes through them twice, you separate them into what's called meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So this just lets you know what part of meiosis you're talking about. So meiosis 1 is the exact same as mitosis. If you look at the picture at the top, you start with one cell, and it's got two sets of chromosomes. One's red, one's blue in this picture, and it goes until it splits into two cells, each with their own set of chromosomes. Then Meiosis 2 is at the bottom. You take those 2 cells that were just made in meiosis 1, and now they're going to split again so that you have a total of 4. But you can see that the same thing is happening in each step. It's just that the first time you have more chromosomes than the second time. And that's on purpose, okay? All right, so in meiosis 1, this just kind of breaks it down for you so that you can see it really easily. In meiosis 1, you have prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. So you can do your little hand motion that we learned in class the other day. After telophase 1, it's going to go through cytokinesis for the first time. Then it's going to start over with prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2. All that matters is, or the only reason that the numbers matter is to tell you whether you're in the first part of meiosis or the second part, okay? And then after it goes through a second time, you're going to have another cytokinesis so that you end up with 4 separate cells that aren't connected at all. And they don't have a normal amount of DNA. They're not diploid. They have half the number of DNA because they're haploid. Okay, and you can see in the picture, instead of each cell at the very end having an X for a chromosome, they have half of the X. They have 1 strand of DNA. All right, so this is going to be really important coming up. All right, so what's the big deal? Why do we even need meiosis? Why can't all cells do mitosis? All right, why do you think that sex cells need to go through cell division twice? What is so special about sex cells? Well, those are all really good questions. So here's your answer here below. Don't forget, sex cells, which are egg and sperm, may eventually join another sex cell in reproduction. So a sperm is likely to at some point join an egg. An egg may be joined by a sperm at some point, and what you get is a baby, or at that stage it would be called a zygote. So when those sex cells join, they become a new cell. So that zygote with the egg and the sperm joined together, that is a new cell. All right, it's not separate anymore once they connect together. Since that new cell only needs 1 set of DNA, each sex cell only needs to have half of the right amount of DNA. So you don't want your baby to have 2 sets of DNA. You want them just to have 1 set. You want them to have a normal amount of DNA. So that means that an egg needs to have half and sperm needs to have half. That way when they come together, they make 1 whole set. Okay? So we'll be talking about that more in class if that's confusing at all. Hopefully this diagram on the next page will show it to you as well. All right. Now, this is a diagram of a sperm cell being made, actually 4 sperm cells being made. So here, the very first one, underneath human sex cell, it has 1 cell, and it says 2N equals 46. It's letting us know, remember 2N stands for diploid, so it's letting us know that the normal amount of chromosomes is 46. This is just for humans. Monkeys have a different number that's normal. Dogs have a different number that's normal. It just depends on what you're talking about. So for humans, we need 46 chromosomes. That's a normal amount. That's diploid. Now, you notice when it goes through meiosis 1, you end up with 2 cells that are still diploid. So remember, this is just like mitosis. You end up with 2 cells that are identical to the first cell.